Good afternoon to all. Myself Murugan. I am Assistant Professor of ECE. I am going to teach you the topic third year students, for third year ECE students. The course name is Communication System. So what is meant by communication system? Briefly, if I am going to explain about what is meant by communication system, if I am going to consider what is meant by communication. Communication is what I am doing here. Now this is actually communication. System in the sense, if it is to be a system, then it is called as if the system is going to be worked in that is called as a communication system. So if I am going to consider this communication system, for example, if you consider the third year students, I think you may be familiar with radar, satellite, and then whatever the communication what you are doing, this and all, it comes under the category of communication system. So if I am going to consider a communication system, what are the basic elements we are going to have in this? If I am going to consider a communication system, basic element in the sense, a system, we have an input system and output system, and we have a channel. Okay, this is actually a basic block diagram of a communication system. If I am consider a radar, or it may be a satellite, or it may be a communication device we are going to have. For example, if I am going to have a communication with any person in the sense, we have a input parameters like a information source. The information source is like the raw material what I am going to deliver, what I am speaking. This is actually an information source. So after that we have a transducer. This transducer, what it is going to do in the sense, for example, you consider a transducer where you can see this transducer in the sense, for example, you take a mic. Inside that we have a non-electrical equipment, that is electrical equipment we have in that. This transducer, what it is going to do in the sense, the non-electrical quantity what I am speaking, this is actually a non-electrical quantity. If I am getting a sound of fan, this is actually a non-electrical quantity. If I am getting a train sound, this is actually a non-electrical quantity. If I am getting any storm or any accident it is going to happen, this sound it comes under the category of that is non-electrical quantity. This non-electrical quantity is converted into electrical quantity. Because in communication system, we have an analog communication system, we have a digital communication system. So analog communication system in the sense, we consider the input as a transducer. This transducer, it is going to convert the non-electrical quantity into electrical quantity. So best example I can tell you that while using a mic, it may be a wireless mic or it may be a wired mic, what you are going to consider. Inside it we have a transducer. This transducer, it plays a major role. It is going to convert the non-electrical quantity into electrical quantity. So this is the first part of input of a transducer. And next we have a transmitter. The transmitter in the sense what we are receiving, for example, if you are going to have if you are transmitting the data from one place to another place, it may be analog, it may be analog or digital. Analog in the sense it is going to be a continuous signal. Continuous signal, what you are going to consider, for example, you can see past semester we have seen like sine wave, cosine wave, triangular wave, sawtooth waveform. These and all comes under the category of what you called as a continuous signal. These we are going to have in the transmitter. If you are transmitting the information, for example, a radio station, it is going to transmit the information. While we are receiving the information, the receiver, we are going to have a FM receiver. Okay, that what we are listening in radios, audios, and then video signal, and whatever the transmitting information, this is going to be considered. So basic block, whatever the non-electrical quantity that is going to convert into electrical quantity, that we are going to have a transmitter. This transmitter, we have a radio frequency, audio frequency, high frequency, low frequency, whatever. We have plenty of frequencies are there in this. Okay, and next we have a channel. This is actually a connecting medium between your transmitter and receiver. Okay, so this transmitter, it is going to have a receiver, and channel we have. This channel, initially in the invention of your communication system, it is going to start from like a coaxial cable, underground cable. These are comes under the category of your UG cables. So nowadays it is going to play a major role like OFC, that is optical fiber cable. This optical fiber cable, it plays a major role now. It is going to be worked out. Even you can see in the roadside, they have mentioned one stone which is going to be in yellow color, they have mentioned as OFC. Even you can see in our college campus, it is available near to our bike stand. One small stone is there, like OFC will be there. That is actually optical fiber cable. Okay, and this channel that is going to be given, and this may be wired and this may be a wireless. Okay, and finally we have a receiver section. This receiver section, initially it is going to reconstruct your original signal in the receiver side. the whatever it may be, like whatever you are transmitting the information in the transmitter side, like in the input side, whatever transmitting, that will be received in the receiver. Okay, in the receiver we have a radio frequency, audio frequency, high frequency, low frequency, ultra high frequency. These frequencies it is going to come in the category. In future we are going to see in this followed topics, we have a frequency ranges that I am going to show you in the slides also. Okay, and here they have mentioned, and output we have a transducer. This transducer, that is non-electrical quantity, what we are going to have in the output, that is going to be your output of your transducer. Again we are going to reconstruct your original signal, and that will be received in your receiver. Okay, this is actually a basic block diagram when we consider any communication system, whatever it may be. It may be a transmitter, it may be a receiver, or it may be a whatever we have a communication system. If we are going to consider, it may be analog or digital, we have this basic block diagram which is going to represent for all the systems. Okay, I think you may understand this. And under this we have software, hardware and communication architecture with coding and signal and processing algorithm. So here why they have mentioned as software, hardware and software in the sense, inside that if you are going to go in depth, what is transmitter, what we are going to transmit, how it is going to be, if it is in a digital form what will happen, if it is in an analog signal what will happen, these and all it comes in the category of your software. Hardware in the sense, what are the components you are going to use, like accessories, that is going to consider in your hardware. And next is communication architecture and coding and signal processing algorithm. These and the algorithms are transforms we are going to do, like a Fourier transform, or like maybe like a time domain to frequency domain. If you are going to change like this, these also comes under the category of this algorithm and all. Okay, and next slide we can see these are the explanation what I given, like what is source, that is voice, picture, text and etc. And input transducer is what I told, converts the original message into your appropriate electrical form. Example, microphone, that I told you in the microphone which is available in your mic. And video cameras, what you are doing here, that's capturing, no, these comes under the category of this. Transmitter, it is going to couples the electrical message to the channel, and channel is the medium, it is going to carry between your like a medium. We are going to have a twister cable, coaxial and then wire, wireless, optical fiber, this and all it is going to come into this category. And receiver, it is going to extract your original signal. And finally we have the output transducer, that is going to be your, for example you can consider your loudspeaker, what we are going to get some information. If you are transmitting the information, we are receiving the receiver by your loudspeaker, that is going to be a basic example. Even you can have your cell phone, what you are going to have, that loudspeaker which is going to come, that is actually an output device we are going to have. Okay, and next slide we are going to have what are the communication channels we are going to have in this. These are carrier signal, and next is attenuation, noise and then filtering and then fading. And before going to this communication channel, you see this a communication channel in the sense, for example you consider, if I am a bike, if I am sitting in the bike, I am riding the bike, whether bike is carrying me or I am carrying the bike, you can have a question on this. Okay, you can give an explanation. If I am riding a bike is carrying me or I am carrying the bike. So here bike is carrying me while I am riding, this is I am the carrier signal, the message is your bike. So bike is carrying you, and the message signal, it should be get a condition that it has to satisfy a condition, like it is called as a Nyquist criterion carrier. That is, here if you are going to consider a message signal, it is going to called as an original signal. What I am speaking is message signal, otherwise called as baseband signal, otherwise called as modulating signal. These are the other name of a original information of a message signal. If carrier signal, if I am going to consider, this is actually high frequency carrier signal, that is going to be run by your frequency of oscillation, like that is crystal oscillator. This is going to have a high frequency, it is going to carry your message signal and it is going to transmit the information. So I think you may be clear about what is meant by carrier signal. This carrier signal plays a major role in a communication system. So how do you know that whether we have to do a modulation? Okay, so before going to the modulation, we should know the condition that we can represent a message signal as FM. Okay, if I am going to consider as carrier, in the sense it is going to represent as FC. So FC is greater than 2 FM. This condition, if it is going to tell in this, if it is going to satisfy this condition, then we can go for modulation. If this condition is going to be false, if the carrier signal is less than your message signal, then we cannot able to do the modulation. So what we have to do is, we have to do the modulation, this condition has to be satisfied. Okay, are you clear? I think everyone has understood. Okay? Okay, thank you.